Better Angel by Richard Meeker, narrated by Landon Watson.
Better Angel by Richard Meeker. Part 1, Chapter 1. Kurt Gray was 13 years old, but as he sat in the broad chair, pulled close to the square front window, he seemed still a little boy. Partly it was the light, partly it was the way in which one thin leg was tucked under him, and his chin dug into his fist. Folded together over his book, he seemed smaller than he was. It was early March. Patches of graying snow thatched the earth outside, and a gray sky, tarnished with gold from a sun gone down behind the grove of oaks opposite, gave to the light a pale, cold, honey-colored translucence that was thin and clear and yet liquid and winy. The room was in deep shadow, and the boy, his head bent almost to the pages of the book, strained his eyes over it with such a silent intentness that he seemed grown to the heavy chair and to the dim, aqueous atmosphere of the room. The faint sounds of rattling dishes and his mother's step in the kitchen could not break through into his consciousness. Now Heracles, he read, though his warriors were ready and urging him to be off on the long-awaited quest for the fleece, refused to set sail until Hylas was found. For Hylas, famed among all the youths of the country for his beauty, was the hero's favorite. In spite of the impatient grumblings of the princes and of the warriors, Heracles sought his young friend. Through field and woodland he went calling aloud, "Hylas! Hylas!" But Hylas was nowhere to be found. "Kurt!" It was his mother. He started as she entered the room behind him, thrusting the book between his thigh and the oaken arm of the chair in vain attempt at concealment. "Reading again, and in this light. Don't you know you'll ruin your eyes? If you must read, do put on the light." "I was just—" he began, justifying himself. "Oh, it's all right. Run now and get me a pail of water like a good boy. Your dad will be home for supper before we know it. Hike!" She gave him a good-natured shove as he shuffled through the door, rubbing his eyes. Kurt Gray had reached the age of 13, in a state of unusual seriousness, unusual loneliness, and unusual innocence. He had no brothers or sisters, and his parents were already in middle age. They worshipped him, yet he escaped somehow, being the proverbial spoiled child. A certain pliability which made him popular with the older people he was thrown with, a pliability which was partially a lack of self-assertiveness, and partially a shrinking from disagreement, was in reality his greatest fault. This pliability—
Sample complete. Ready to continue?